What's up, guys? It's Fashion Network Plus here, and we're back with a whole nother video. If you haven't seen my last video, I talked about multiple topics, from Tyler the Creator's collaboration with Louis Vuitton to Donald Trump's new shoe line. I will put the video in the description box so you guys can definitely check it out because it's very interesting. For this video, we're going to be talking about Claude Montana, the big fashion designer who just recently passed away, Versace's fall 2024 looks, Dolce & Gabbana, and what is going on with these models nowadays. So who do we have here? If you guys don't know, Claude Montana is a very popular fashion designer who very much defined fashion in the 80s. He passed away this recent Friday at age 76. I just wanted to touch on the story because his background in fashion, and I found it very interesting, and his life as a fashion designer was very interesting. He's like one of the big reasons why the big shoulder pad fashion on the ladies was very popular in the 80s. Claude Montana's real name is Claude Montana, but he changed his surname to Montana in the 70s because people kept mispronouncing it. His mother was German and his father was a fabric manufacturer who was Spanish. He was born on June 29th, 1949 in Paris. He left home when he was just 17 years old and moved to London, and he began making papier-mâché jewelry, and it was also featured on the cover of British Vogue. He returned back home in Paris in 1973, but he couldn't find a market for his pieces, and through a friend, he landed a job as a cutter for Mac Douglas, which is a luxury leatherware company, and just about a year later, he was the company's chief designer, and by 1977, he was able to go on his own. By the time it was the end of the decade and right into the 80s, he was a star, and his styles literally dominated the 80s. Critics even called him the future of Paris fashion. He had licensing deals, a boutique, a best-selling perfume, and men's and women's ready-to-wear lines. He even designed for an Italian line complex. 80 stars like Cher, Diana Ross, and Grace Jones all wore Montana's work. So did Don Johnson and Bruce Willis. He was even nicknamed as King of the Shoulder Pad. Montana really worked hard and cared about his craft because despite his growing success, he was media shy, and he even created a reputation as a tortured perfectionist. But he was eyeing the pinnacle of his profession, haute couture. He said out of his own mouth, "When you are a fashion designer, you dream of one thing only, and that is couture. If you get a chance to do it, it is amazing." He was approached by Christian Dior and Givenchy to take over as creative director in the late 80s, but a firm offer from the ailing house of Lanvin came in 1989, which allowed Montana to take control of its couture division. He worked with Lanvin for just 5 seasons, and Montana drew praise from critics and also won 2 consecutive Golden Thimble Awards, which was an industry first. But at first, Montana's aggressive silhouettes shocked American critics and buyers. He was accused of being misogynistic and promoting a neo-Nazi aesthetic. His leather and stud looks owed more to the gay subculture than to any political movement. By the mid-80s, Montana's catwalk shows with the haughty Amazonian models styled to perfection had become the hottest ticket in town. Valerie Steele, who is an American historian and also the director of the museum at FIT, also quoted, "Montana has had an enormous impact on all designers who want to create a tough chic look. He did that practically better than anyone." There were similarities with Mugler, but Mugler's work was campier and more playful. Montana's was more fierce and hard chic. Designers are always into that, but certainly it comes back as a trend periodically. And also, Stephen Jones, who is a milliner, A milliner is someone who specializes in hat and headwear, has remembered him as a genius and a perfectionist. Jones quote, "I've worked with him for 17 years on women's, men's licenses in Lanvin, and he was just extraordinary. He was a great friend and teacher. His discipline in cutting was unlike anyone else's. He would cut and recut and make sure the clothes were perfect." And also remembered seeing Linda Evangelista and Christy Turlington wait until 4 a.m. for fittings with Montana. They waited because they knew the clothes would fit more perfectly than in any other show. Pat Cleveland, who was a model who worked with him from the start, described it as agony and ecstasy. She quotes, "He took a look at the darkness and was deeper than nighttime. He made those gothic romantic costumes. It was sort of Edgar Allan Poe. It was wonderful to be with Montana. He was always pushing my body into shapes. He was extraordinary in how he wanted the body to be seen."
Gefallen lassen. Ein Bacillus muss unter den Designern grassiert haben. Jedenfalls sah man in
Continue to recall how Montana and Mugler were like parallel universes. Cleveland said that Montana once asked her, "Who do you like the most, me or Thierry?" There were so many models that were presenting in that way at the time. The designers were using certain girls to tell a story. In an interview with WWD in 2010, the designer summed up his contribution to the style annals as cut, textures, and color. Fashion is in constant evolution, and what remains unchanged are the things I love profoundly: black and white, gray, navy, the basic colors, the real colors which you can then play with and build on by adding others. For the 1988 bicentennial Wh0 collection fashion show at the Sydney Opera House in Australia, Montana had instructed Cleveland how to walk a certain way, despite wearing a leather outfit, quote, "that was so skin tight that it was like a second skin. It was black, dark, gothic, and totally binding at the kneecaps." She also recalled that Prince Charles and Princess Diana were the guests of honor at the event. Quote, "I did my very best to have that particular kind of walk for him. I remembered that Prince Charles jumped up and started applauding when I came out on the runway in that Montana dress." Paul Van Riel, who is a photographer, recalls the backstage scene at Montana runway shows in the 70s and 80s, saying his shows were fun to photograph because he was one of the leading designers. He was one of the big names with Thierry Mugler. His shows were different from Dior or Versace Laurent. It was younger, modern, now and today. Even though Montana had an insane amount of talent, he had a deplorable way of life. He could have ruled the world, but in the end, he was alone in dire and financial straits. He also had problems with substance abuse. He often disappeared for days or weeks at a time. And in 1989, when Dior came calling, he turned the job down. He told the Washington Post that year, saying, "I need room. I don't want to have all this money and go to an asylum." But a year later, he had accepted Lanvin's offer to design its haute couture line and did so for 5 seasons. In 1993, Montana ended up marrying model Wallace Franken, who was an American model with 2 children, who had been Mr. Montana's muse and runway star since he started out. Miss Franken was always deeply in love with him. Maureen Orff reported in Vanity Fair in 1996 that the marriage was stormy and that Franken resented his affairs with men and he resented her work. He allegedly once beat her, Miss Orff had wrote when the photographer Steven Measle asked her to pose for a Donna Karan campaign. Franken's body was soon found on the street outside their Paris apartment, tortured by her own drug use and allegedly allegedly despondent over her marriage. But people had whispered, had she been pushed? Many people in the industry indirectly blamed Montana for her death and would say he contributed to her depressive state by being physically and emotionally abusive. But Montana never spoke about it, and Franken was not featured prominently in a book about the designer published in 2010. Montana continued to put out collections until the turn of the millennium, and critics invariably described them in lackluster terms. And by the 2000s, he had become a recluse, even as younger designers turned to his bold styles for inspiration. There was a sense that Claude would go on and last forever, but then he disappeared and fell off the map. But people close to him would say he was a very stern disciplinarian. He had an eye for silhouette, detail, coloring, and jewelry, and he was very much about incredibly glamorous yet discreet tailoring. He understood the drama of the silhouette. He looked at curves, not lines, and he was all about sculpture. It's so sad that this fashion genius has had to leave this earth so soon. He did live a nice life up until 76. Even though his personal life was a bit messy, I still believe that his fashion work as a designer, he was very talented, and you could definitely tell he definitely cared about what he put out. And what we really love is a designer who cares so much about their craft and perfects everything and really looks through things very technical. He had so much force and he was very fierce, and it was just so nice to be able to learn so much more about him. I don't want him to be defined as someone who had a messy life or allegedly accused of pushing his wife. I'm just so glad that his designs and his recognition as a designer is being appreciated. RIP, you are a legend. Before we move on to the next topic, make sure you hit that subscribe button just right real quick. We're moving right onto Versace's fall 2024 look, and honestly, this look is a big yawn. They tried so hard to be edgy and punk and give it that punk twist. Honestly, what are they doing? It just looks like a whole bunch of kids who are playing dress up. There's nothing exciting about this. They all look goofy and stupid in my opinion. Like, these haircuts are trash. Those haircuts are what a little girl would cut up her baby doll in. Like, that is a Barbie doll cut up DIY haircut. Like, please go ahead with that lightning struck hair. Those clothes. Who decided to cut out holes? Oh my gosh, in the shoes. It's like if Elmo came to town. Red leopard print? That is not a good combination with this look. They just did anything. Donatella, are you okay? Are you sick? Because what is going on? You are off your A game. How did you go from the iconic 2005 show to this? I'm pretty sure Gianni Versace is like rolling in his grave just looking at it. It's not giving very much it, girl. It's not giving very much good. It's giving very much bad. And then it's a shame that Gigi Hadid and all these other high models are trying their best to keep it alive, but it's no. You are just better off just shelving off this season. Next, we have Dolce & Gabbana with their runway collection. They tried their hand at the mob wife aesthetic for their fall 2024 collection, and it was honestly dumpster fire. What were they doing? They did not do it right. Why are they trying so hard to make something and force something to look good, and it's just missing? It's not landing anywhere. It's not landing good. It just looks sloppy, and in my opinion, it looks ghetto, like very much raunchy. Who is honestly going to be wearing this, and who is actually going to be buying this? And you know it's bad when they have to pull every single A model out of the woodworks just to model this, just to convince people that this is good. You had Natasha Pulley, You had Naomi Campbell. You also had Amber Valletta. And it's just like, they're trying their hardest to make it work. And it's like, they might as well just shelve it. Next. Emma Watson was seen at the Prada fashion show. And girl, what are you wearing? None of that matches. Did you just throw on anything that was in your closet? Like, what is wrong with you? How do you have this preschool graduation dress on with this long trench jacket? Like, no, this long blazer jacket. Like, no. And these shoes are horrendous. Who is actually wearing this shoe? Goodbye. Next, we have Kanye West and his new wife Bianca Censori, who stepped out for the Marni season 2024 Milan fashion show. Honestly, what are they wearing? Why is she wearing that horrible outfit? Horrible outfit. See, Kanye, this is why people think you have your wife in hostage. Because why she's wearing those long, ugly pink boots with that black, if you want to call that an outfit, okay, and that horrible haircut. Oh my gosh, please go home. You guys could have stayed home. I don't get what you guys were trying to prove with this look, but other than that, you just let everybody know you guys have no fashion sense at all. You guys looked it ridiculous, and it just made designers not even want to invite you guys ever again, because what are these wardrobe choices? Next, the SAG Awards were on February 24th, 2024. These looks just makes me want to rip my eyeballs out. We have Greta Lee in the Wh0 collection. What are you wearing? Take those O.J. Simpson murder gloves off. You look horrible. That dress is not it at all. Burn that dress. Next, we have Danielle Brooks and Christian Siriano. That end of the ombre dress looks like octopus. It looks like jellyfish. It does not look normal. I see what they were trying to do, but there's a difference between the vision and the execution. It just did not execute. This look did not execute. Next, we have Brie Larson in this wrinkly Versace dress. Like, she could just take 2 seconds out of her day and steam that dress. Why are you walking around with a wrinkled dress? Goodbye. Next, we have Maddie Ziegler and vintage Alexander McQueen. That dress is horrible. It looks like a dog ripped your dress to shreds, and you still decided to wear it because it costed too much money. Burn that since it's already halfway destroyed. And please, that toenail polish needs to go. If you're gonna paint your nails, if you're gonna paint your toenails, at least make it match. They're already crooked. Next, we have Storm Reid and Balmain, and girl, oh my gosh, take that off. Why did you decide to wear that? It looks like a garden mess. They did you dirty. Your stylist did you dirty, and please fire your stylist. Next, Margot Robbie is wearing this Schiaparelli Haute Couture dress. Girl, you're about to make me mad. You make me want to go through this screen and just shake you and say, wake up. What is your talent for picking these horrible dresses? This dress is plain. This dress is wrinkled. Everything is wrong with this look. Why did you say yes? You don't even look happy. So why are you trying to make this work? You have a choice to get a nice dress. Don't make me mad and pretend that you don't have a choice. Next, we have Melissa McCartney wearing Puey Quinones, and girl, what is this look? Your eye makeup make you look scary. It's giving very much orphan. It's giving very much a bad day. You look like you haven't slept in 16 years. Take that makeup off. You look a hot mess. That latex, leather, whatever that is, take that off. It looks like 2 caterpillars just resting on your arm. You should have stayed home with this look. That's all for this video. If you guys love these topics, make sure you hit that subscribe button and make sure you give me a like. Make sure you comment down below on which topics you want to talk about so we can talk about it. I'm Fashion Network Plus. Until next time,